Hey guys, what's going on? Glad you're back. If you've been watching my series of videos for the last week, I'm putting out a lot of old man's information. Old man, I'm 64 in a week or two. About a week. 64 years old. Will you still love me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? It's a Beatles song. This is a follow-up video. And the reason I'm making a follow-up video to the last video I made yesterday, I think the title was Fake Friends. What I know about friendships at my age. What an old man could tell you about friendships. It's in my channel. You can go watch it. In fact, go ahead and like and subscribe and share this video. Oh my God, you got to share this video with people that could use the information. You have to share it. If you don't even subscribe to my channel, which doesn't cost you anything, but if you don't subscribe or even put a like on it, that's fine, but you got to share this. Like a younger set has to know ahead of time their place in life, and how fleeting life is, and how what you think is important now at 20, what you think is important at 30, 35, 40 years old. When you get a little bit older, you realize the material things don't matter in life. All the fancy stuff that you can obtain in your lifetime doesn't mean a thing. As they say, you can't take it with you. I've always been introspective. I've always been kind of a deep thinker. And having served on the fire department and also been in the Army, I understand how life is fleeting, and how what's important, when you understand what's important in life, then you start being less materialistic. All the stuff that you can obtain in your lifetime. You don't own anything. You own nothing. Nothing in this life you own. You're simply renting it. I don't care if you have the title to your house, the title to your car. All that stuff is going to somebody else. When you leave this planet, all that stuff goes to somebody else. And then they're going to either sell it, and it'll go to somebody else, a third party, fourth party, whatever. Everything on this planet leaves. Sorry, you leave without anything on this planet. You don't own anything. You're basically just renting it. So all the material things you can accumulate in your lifetime don't mean crap. Literally, they don't mean anything. There was a time in my life where I was materialistic as well. In my mid to late 20s and 30s, like back in the day, we had a VCR, and it was always, it wasn't that I was trying to impress anybody, but it always gave me a good feeling to go buy something new, the newest, latest, greatest thing. And a lot of times I didn't even need it. It's just a want. And at the end of the day, that stuff doesn't make you happy. It fades. There are people who actually go out and spend money on things as therapy. Like hoarders, usually. They're going out and buying things all the time because it does something to their soul. It does something to their mind, and their mental health somehow makes them happy for a moment. And then the moment is fleeting, and then they have to go buy the next thing. It's a bad, vicious cycle. I want to talk about materialistic endeavors. I want to talk, this video may go on past the 20-25 minute mark that I like to make my videos, because I have a lot to say about what the purpose of life is, which ties into my last video. And the last video was about fake friends and all that stuff. Bear with me. You're going to find out how that ties into my last video. But first and foremost, before I describe some of my experiences in life, I want to go through Steve Jobs. Now, before I say that, a little disclaimer. When this rumor, because that's what it was, when this letter came out that Steve Jobs had supposedly written on his deathbed, it gained a lot of traction back in the day. And like myself, when I read it, I'm like, that is perfect. That is beautiful. That is poetry. Like, that is so well described what he wrote. And it turns out he didn't write it. It turns out it was a bit of an internet myth. That being said, even if he didn't write it, because nobody really knows, it really expresses how I feel. Right now, if you gave me $10 million in a briefcase, it wouldn't change my life. It wouldn't change my mental state, my physical state, my health. It wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't even change my friendships. The only thing it would do is bring fake friends to me, which I would be able to sort out very, very easily. Fake friends so that they could, like, hey, what can I get from this guy? Which ties into my last video a little bit, fake friends. But I want to read, before I go on, I want to read, and I got to put on my other my other two eyes. I want to read what Steve Jobs wrote. Very, very interesting. I'm gonna opine on this as well. Powerful last words from Steve Jobs. Quote, "I have come to the pinnacle of success in business. In the eyes of others, my life has been the symbol of success. Getting Apple up on the ground and running. However, apart from my work, I have little joy. Finally, my wealth is simply a fact to which I am accustomed. At this time, lying on the hospital bed and remembering all of my life." And what I actually heard when I read it the first time was, "Here I lie in my $1 million hospital bed, but yet I'm dying." I don't know if that part is even true. At this time, lying on the hospital bed and remembering all my life, I realized that all the accolades and riches of which I was once so proud of have become insignificant with my intimate death. It's in the dark when I look at the green lights of the equipment for the artificial respiration and feel the buzz of the mechanical sounds. I can feel the breath of my approaching death looming over me. Only now do I understand that once you accumulate enough money for the rest of your life, you have to pursue the objectives that are not related to your wealth. It should be something more important. For example, stories of love, art, dreams of my childhood. No, stop pursuing wealth. It can only make a person into a twisted being just like myself. God has made us one way. We can feel the love in our heart of each of us and not illusions built by fame or money, like I made in my life. I cannot take them with me. I can only take with me the memories that were strengthened by love. This is true wealth that will follow you, will accompany you. He will give you strength and light to go ahead. Love can travel thousands of miles and life has no limits. Move to where you want to go. Strive to reach the goals you want to achieve. Everything in your heart and in your hands. What is the world's most expensive bed? The hospital bed. You, if you have any money, can hire someone to drive your car, but you cannot hire someone to take your illness that is killing you. Material things lost can be found, but one thing you can never find when you lose: life. Whatever stage of life where we are right now, at the end, we will have to face the day when the curtain falls. Please treasure your family, love your spouse, love your friends, treat everybody well, and stay friendly with your neighbors. I heard the story a tad bit differently. The story that I heard, and you could tie this into what I just said, is here I lie in my $1 million hospital bed and I have nobody by my side. That, as it seems, wasn't true, because apparently at his dying breath he had some family around. But it still struck home. It still struck a note with me, because as I said on my last video, accumulating wealth doesn't mean anything. Accumulating friends and making sure, the only thing that's important in life, I'm going to interrupt myself. There are two things important in life, period. There are only two things important in life: love and be loved. Give love and be loved. That's it. If you can love somebody, in plural, you can add an in plural on that. Fly. If you can love somebody and you can receive love, that's the most important thing in life. Those two things are the most important thing in life. If you don't have that, I don't care how much money you have. As I said a little earlier, if you gave me a briefcase full of $10 million, it would not change anything in my life. It wouldn't change my mental health or it wouldn't change anything. Money and things and material possessions do not make you a better person. You know, if you're an ass and you go out and, you know, you can afford to go and buy a Ferrari and a $2 million house and, you know, have a butler and a house cleaner and all this stuff and blah, blah, and you're still an ass. It doesn't make you less of an ass. If you're a good person, none of that stuff would make you a better person, with the exception of being empathetic and the exception of giving money away and doing charity work and stuff like that, or opening a charity. Yes, it could change a good person, but it won't change a bad person. When you start accumulating things in life, when you start getting your stride in life, which usually is about 35, 40 years old, the financial stride in life that you would have, typically, you can go out and buy stuff that you think makes you happy, as I did when I was younger. You know, go out and get a new car, go out and, you know, buy this or buy that, or, you know, get a piece of jewelry or a watch or something like that, a Rolex. None of that stuff makes you a better person. None of that stuff makes you happy, and you don't own nothing at the end of the day. The main thing in life, as I said, those two things, to give love and to be loved. That's the most important thing. If you can surround yourself by friends and family, you have wealth. If you have friends and family, you have everything. In opposition, if you don't have any friends or family, you don't have shit. Like, you literally are the poorest person in the world. Because as much money as you could have, when you don't have that, like the Steve Jobs thing, billions of dollars in the bank. And let's just go with the farce that he didn't have anybody around him at the end. Can you imagine? Can you imagine having the wealth that he had, Steve Jobs? Can you imagine opening a company that he'll go down in the history books, you know, Apple, obviously, opening a company and having all this historical stuff written about him in the future? 100 years from now, everybody will know his name, and everybody will know why they know his name. But yet, he didn't have love, and he didn't have friends and family. That's sad. All the money in the world, and he doesn't have nothing. Fictitious as it might be, it's very profound. Because in my life, I pushed back against that for a long, long time. I still do. Very, very pretentious. Where I grew up in LA, oh my God. And one of the reasons I left and never looked back, LA, if you don't know, is very pretentious, like a lot of places are, but even more so. I remember going out, you know, to a bar or club or something like that, or even meeting people. And the first thing people want to know is what you do for a living or where you live. And they'll go in a roundabout way to find that out. And if you don't have the right zip code, and you're not driving the right car, and you don't have the right career, they don't care about you. Like, they're not going to pursue you as a friend based on your status. And I hate that. It's so pretentious and so vile. Generally speaking, I would know just like they know, or they would find out about me, I would know about them just based on that. And I would push away from them based on that, because I don't like that. I don't like that, you know, because I don't have a Rolex on, or I don't have gold jewelry on, or something like that. I push back big time. I never owned anything expensive that I could show off. There are people out there that can look at your clothes and know that you have expensive shoes, or you have an expensive shirt, or an expensive tie, or vice versa, and we'll judge you on that. Oh, that's a Kmart tie, or as it were, Walmart or something like that. That's not, they didn't get a Louis Vuitton. They didn't get, you know, it's just disgusting, really. And I hated it. That pretentious attitude about LA, I really hated, and that's why I don't miss it. And there's a lot of that here in Atlanta, but a little less so than in LA, and probably in New York and other places, Chicago, and other major cities. It just set me. I don't like to show off me. It doesn't make, by showing off to me that you have a lot of money doesn't do anything for me. As an outsider, as somebody that's not close to you, it doesn't do anything for me. Now, if you handed me a bag of money, that might do something for me. It might pay my bills for a while, but at the end of the day, showing off does nothing. Nothing for you. I remember driving down the road, and sorry if I told this story already. I was driving down the road when my son was about 10 years old. And at that time, there were spinners, the rims that would spin after you stopped. And we stopped at a light. My son was probably about 8, 9 years old at the time. We stopped at a traffic light, and he looked over and he saw this car with this old guy in it with spinners. And he's like, "Look, Dad, the spinners," and I think they were lit up too. "Oh, that's so cool, that's so cool." So I said to my son, "Do you know that guy spent cost average $500 for the tires, because they're really nice tires, like Toyo or whatever, and another $500 for the rims. He's got $2,000 he spent on tires and rims he can't see. He cannot see them in the car. He spent all that money for you, so you could be envious. Like, envy is like one of those bad things, right? And you could see the wheels turning in his head, and he got it. He understood what I was talking about. Nothing about showing off does anything for anybody. Really, honestly, it doesn't. So, through my life, as I said on my last video, I have 3 friends. 3 friends in 64 years. I have 3 friends on my phone. And I use the term lightly because although they're more than acquaintances, they're not quite the friend. Of those 3, maybe 1 I could depend on in the middle of the night if I have an emergency, that they would be there. I think 1 out of those 3. And I don't like that. I don't like that I'm at my age now with 3 friends. I have no family. Literally, I have no family. Any type of, long ago cousins that I have, I've long lost touch with, and I'm not one to throw them away, but apparently they threw me away. So there's that. My mom died about 8, 9 years ago of breast cancer. My dad died, about 25, 26 years ago, ironically, of a bad heart, because he wasn't a nice person when I was growing up. And so his heart killed him, literally and figuratively. Probably, I'm going to say figuratively more so, because when you have a bad aura around you, when you have bad juju, as they say, it affects your health. So that he had a bad heart, he smoked 2 packs a day and he never exercised and all that stuff, true enough. But, that negative vibe that he had about him probably contributed. So my mom and dad are gone. My grandparents are long gone. My sister hasn't spoken to me for 6 years because of elections and things that happen, which is kind of vile in and of itself. Like, you're going to pick some other person that has nothing to do with you over your own blood. That was her choice. I divorced 3 years ago, although our marriage wasn't that great prior to the divorce. And I have a son, a grown son, who went through his own little early drama in life and all that stuff. But, he decided to divorce me as well. And I don't know what his major malfunction is, because I treated that boy really good. I raised him very, very well. But he's angry. The anger that he has toward me, that's a whole different story I might get into at a different point. The anger he has toward me is unjustified. I'm going to put it like that. So I don't have any blood relatives. I don't have I don't have family, basically. The friends that I have, I mentioned on my last video, I deleted and blocked most of them because they weren't friends. They were acquaintances and users, and or both. So without friends and family, I'm broke. You know, a lot of people in my position in life right now, I'm debt free. I own everything that I have. I don't have any struggles. I don't have any drama in my life. But I'm lonely and I'm broke. Not financially. Remember, finances don't matter. I'm broke in love. Yes. And that's the saddest thing to happen when you get older. It's sad at any time in your age, but when you get older, when you get to my age, that's pretty sad. And most of it, as I mentioned on my last video, I'm an empath. You know, I was always out there doing for others. You know, me? No, I didn't really matter. You can't make me happy with a thing. You can't buy a birthday present or Christmas present. That doesn't make me happy. So I never expected anything from anybody, but I wanted to, in a roundabout way, buy their loyalty or buy their like or love toward me. I don't mean financially. I wouldn't, you know, give out money. I don't have it like that. But if I were there for them every time they had a bump in life or a hiccup in life or something, and I was there, Johnny on the spot, and I had their back, that's what I would do. And at the end of the day, it wasn't appreciated, and it definitely wasn't reciprocated. And so that's why I don't have friends, because I got rid of the ones that weren't real. I could have continued with that, getting used and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, no, that sucks. That sucks if all the people you have in your life are only around when they need you. So the main lesson that, you know, because I'm getting into the 25-minute mark here, the main lesson that I want to put across here, the only two things that matter in life. Please remember this. Please, if you got nothing else from this video or any of my videos, remember this. The only two things in life that matter. I didn't hear you. To give love and to be loved. That's it. The only two things in life that matters. I don't care if you're broke. I don't care if you're sleeping on a cardboard box on the street. If you're giving or receiving love, you're rich. If you have friends and family, you're rich. Don't discard that. Don't get petty. And I know sometimes family and friends can get petty on each other. Don't do that. Don't get petty. Remember your future. Remember that you will want people around to love and be loved by them much longer than you will at 40, 45, 50 years old, because you're trudging along trying to reach that goal. I want to hit that career ladder, and I want that promotion, and I want that Ferrari, and I want that diamond ring, and I want... No. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying don't think that's going to make some type of happiness for you, because it won't. It will not do it. But anyway, that's about all I have to say about that. I hope something came out of my video. I hope there's some type of, you know, you can go read Steve Jobs' letters if you want to. Take it with a grain of salt, because, you know, if fictitious or not, it doesn't really matter. You know, the principle of the thing is still there. And that's what I got out of it. Although I knew it already, it's, you know, it's like, duh. Yeah. So again, like, subscribe, share, do all those things. If there's another story, if there's something else you want to know about from an old man perspective, you know, let me know. Put it in the comment section. Let me know if there's any videos that you want me to make that have to do with maybe something you're going through, that I can give advice, not one-on-one, but, you know, if you're going through something, chances are others are too. Put it in the comment section. I will, if I have my take on it, I will make a video. Yeah. So anyway, later, guys. Love you guys. You know, we're all on this big rock together. So yeah, love you. Later.